Hello,
Welcome
welcome
back to
to Philosophising.
Philosophising. My name is Ruby,
I'm Nathan.
Rowan.
and we're here to talk about scams today.
Mhm.
Always a fun subject.
I know,
Yeah.
specifically science related scams, how they're proliferated, what checks and balances them, and what distinguishes like health science related scams from like academia. And we're just gonna roll through. And we also brought in Rawan because we were talking about what we were gonna talk about today, and then she was like, "I read a whole book about scams, specifically the
Uh,
scam that we want to talk about today."
specifically about
And I was like, "Can you just
Theranos, right?
yeah, can you just come on our stream and spill more tea um about it?"
So
I do like
I
to
was gonna
gossip.
say, so our headline title thing is Theranos is back. And so like that was one of the reasons I started thinking about scams is so I was reading about how Elizabeth Holmes's partner, so she was the founder of Theranos. Her partner now has a new blood testing company called Hemanthus, which is apparently a type of plant, but it is also doing blood testing.
So Hemanthus apparently is Greek for blood flower.
Yeah, so it is actually a kind of plant, but also it's a blood testing um, company that plans to use lasers and AI to do cheaper blood tests, which in fairness, I don't know about the science about this. I don't know like how legitimate it is, but I thought it was really funny that it was like literally her partner was like, let's start a blood testing company. And part of me is like, how the heck do you even get money for this, which is also related
Money
to the question
again.
of like how the heck did Theranos get money in the first place?
Yeah. Well, we can talk
Yeah.
about the biotech venture capital nonsense that goes on anyway. So
Yeah. Well, okay. So can we just talk about their idea first? Like, what was the idea for Theranos? Like, I remember
um
hearing about it and being like, "That's not too insane. Like, we could
no,
probably do it
so
in like 10 years."
so the idea was that you could take like a prick of blood, like a tiny from your thumb, and diagnose all kinds of things. Like she was saying, we can diagnose cancer, we can diagnose like things that are undiagnosable from this part of your blood flow, right? So that was the main thing that she said. And what I read in the book is that she joined like a lab at Stanford, and she started with solid science, and she was building things like and then she just kind of like one experiment worked, and then she was like, okay, I'm going to turn this into a startup. And like her professor was like, listen, that's not going to work. And everyone told her like, that's not going to work, it's not going to happen. Like any educated person with a PhD would tell you, you cannot, like, that the blood at the tips of your fingers is not the same. Like it's just not, it does not have that information that she was claiming it had. And
And
so
so
that
is
was
the
the main.
problem like the concentration of blood or where you were taking the blood from or both?
It
Like
was
was it like the amount
both.
of blood or
It was
um
both. It was like the
mhm,
type of blood that flows through your fingertips is not enough, doesn't have enough information that to
mhm.
give you like if you had cancer or if you had it was like blood sugar tests and more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
that was
like,
it. And
I
she said
think it was
that
like
they had.
volume, right? The problem was like you get one drop, and like to run one of these tests conventionally, to run one test, you would use the entire drop, right?
Yeah. It was the volume, but it was definitely also like the veins in your
Like the
fingers just
source of
don't
the
have.
blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the process of the puncture
Yeah.
also contaminate. Yeah.
Like
Um,
this is a thing just for people who aren't like familiar with like the details of blood testing, but it's like by the time the blood gets to the capillaries in your finger, it actually kind of has acquired different chemical properties. So, for example, like the types of gases that are dissolved in the blood from your finger are going to be very different from like what's found in the blood in your lungs, and that's off why some tests require blood from specific veins or even sometimes specific arteries.
Yeah. And the major controversy that they had, so they claimed that they made this machine called the Edison that was supposed to be able to use this type of blood and do something fancy and like tell you all kinds of things. But it was a fake machine. It was a prototype. They built a prototype that doesn't work, that constantly failed. And like in their same labs, they were running the samples on like the most standard machines around. So they were running the samples on the standard machines, like the Simmons machine, or anyway, these machines were around. And they were saying that, no, we're running our samples on our Edison machine. And they weren't. They were blatantly lying about that. So
I just remember they made a fake lab at some point and then like brought President Joe Biden through it. and he was like, oh, it looks like a real lab. But it was actually like they just made a model lab. And like a non-scientist would be like, great, looks like a lab. Like, here's the results. Like, they're not going to run it in front of you. And I was going to say, like, a lot of times, so as scientists, we give other scientists the benefit of the doubt. Like, we kind of trust them to be like, hey, when they show you the data, it came from the machine that they claimed it did. Like, if we're going to show you a graph and like, we collected this graph, like we made this graph from collecting data, we used this machine, and then like we put it in the methods, like that machine was being used. Like
you're not going to be like, I think you're lying.
Yeah, like, who starts a conversation being like, I think that sounds like bullshit, man. Like, no.
Yeah. Like, and we kind of just assume that, you know, another scientist doing this would be, you know, honest about it. And I think that's actually what happened, right? Like people that worked in our company like whistle blew and was like, actually we didn't actually use the Edison.
Can we call her a scientist? Is she a dropout? Like, I don't want to be a dick about this.
I did not read this book, but I watched the Hulu series called The Dropout, which is also really good. And like, I really don't think she was a scientist. I mean, like, she didn't really do science. Like, pretty much all she did was like scam people.
She also intimidated and harassed her employees.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Like, that's insane.
I think it's wild that they hired someone to basically chase like or stalk like employees that were whistleblowers, and also they like hired people to clean the website. Like Wikipedia would get regularly updated by a company that they had hired to clean up their internet presence. And and in this modern age, like AI could do it, right? Like AI
have an agent for everything.
Yeah, you can have an agent that just cleans your internet presence constantly. Yeah, like it is a excellent tool for scamming people.
I was gonna say there were one. So I thought that thing about like the Edison machine was really interesting because I remember reading about Theranos like before it was found out to be a scam. I think when they were planning to like partner with these drugstores, I went to their website and I was reading about it, and I think I was reading about it, I'm like, okay, what is different about their technology that lets them do this? And their website at the time said like, okay, we have this Edison machine, it lets you do it. I'm just curious. I'm like, okay, how does it work? Like, what is it actually doing? And there was nothing on the website about like what it was actually doing, which yeah.
That's actually super common in the biotech world.
So I was gonna say it's like it is suspicious in retrospect, but I think it's also one of the things that enabled it is that it's kind of normal to have this culture of secrecy around startups
biotech
too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that was one of the things that made it like harder to see that it was a scam, is that like it wasn't suspicious that they couldn't say what their machine was actually doing.
But as an investor, like you can ask for all these things, right? You can be like, we need to see the data and we need people to look at this data. And that's totally within your right as an investor. Like even if they're company secrets, you as an investor you're allowed. So
yeah, like you sign a thing that's like, I will not tell everyone
about it. Yeah, you sign an NDA, you don't say anything, whatever. Like, what are you going to do with it, honestly? Like, if you like it, you just give them money. If you don't like it, you don't believe in it, and you're not going to move on and, like, steal their idea because you're like, whatever. This doesn't,
That's a smart investing, too. But here's, like, a lot of people invested, including, like, Walgreens and Safeway, right? without looking
I
at
think
the science.
I think so. Walgreens were the ones who actually did enough due diligence to like find them out. Like I think Walgreens declined to invest, right?
But they
No,
had that
they did.
rollout. Maybe it wasn't
Yeah,
Walgreens, maybe it was
Yeah.
someone else, but Walgreens had a rollout of like they had these like little pods of clinics.
Theranos. I remember seeing them. No. Walgreens
Yeah.
they rolled it out, but I think they before they got too big, I think it was only in like 80 or 90 shops. Shops, that's not right. Like Walgreens stores,
Ooh.
they pulled the plug and then they sued them because they're like, wait, none of this shit works.
Yeah, I mean,
You're telling
Yeah,
people to have
I
cancer,
know.
they
Like
don't have cancer, and
Walgreens
people
was
that
one
do
of the
have cancer.
first people to launch an investigation into it and
Yeah.
start.
it's because the customers
yeah.
were like, yo, you said I had cancer and I don't, and you scared me and I like ruined my life for 6 months, you know?
Yeah.
And so the customers were suing them, and that's fair enough. Like if someone told me I had cancer and I didn't have cancer,
Yeah.
I would
Well,
also sue.
This is the scary part about biotech science stuff. Like
Before
they
we move on, though,
yeah, go.
can I just say, can we remember how creepy like she was? Because she insisted to talk and look like Steve Jobs. You guys remember that? She had like that deep voice. She was wearing those turtlenecks. Like, what? There's a marketing perspective here that like apparently Silicon Valley like there's an image that they want and she embodied it. Is that why she was so successful?
Yeah. Oh, I feel like they did really good on marketing and packaging. Like packaging the CEO, packaging the company, like it had a fancy name, it had like an easy, memorable name. Like it had a lot of components going for it. It just didn't have any, it was just empty inside.
But I think it was ridiculous that I also like just because she's a woman and then she anyway.
She used it. No, like the more frustrating for me is how much erosion in science and also erosion in women in science. Like who's
Yes,
gonna be the next, an actual real
we
genuine
can't
scientist?
afford that.
Yeah, like she kind of ruined it for like every person that got burned investing in her company is probably going to be look twice before. I mean, you should look
Yeah.
twice at someone else's science, but they would hesitate on investing in another woman that looks like her or another person that looks and like has her demographics,
It's
right?
like the integrity of science as a whole, and then like women in science was
Yeah, like
attacked.
specifically, and I was just like, we do not claim her.
It was so frustrating to me.
As a woman in science, you're like, oh fuck, like she's like the highest profile
You're
scientist
just like,
in
And
America
she's
and
like
right
she
now.
was
ruined it
like,
for the rest
held,
of
I
us.
mean,
Yeah.
and she like presented herself as like, oh, a trailblazer for like women in science, and then you're just like, okay.
God damn it.
Yeah, no thanks. But
Yeah, I was gonna say the lack of peer review was like I feel like the problem, right? Like the biggest difference between biotech in the world of like venture capital and stuff is that they're like we use patents and we don't tell you anything, but actually it also allows you to have this like gap where no one can check your work. And in academia, we have this version where we like literally try to publish things so people can check your work as part of the process. Like to get something academically published in most journals, they have to go through reviewers, usually like at least 2 referees that have to like be like, hey, actually you should do these controls, or maybe, it will be more convincing if it's you do blank. You go and do the things and then they go back and then editor is like, okay, yeah, you did the thing. Now you can publish the paper, right? Like that's the usual process of how publishing happens. Here, not only did they not do that, they could just be like, we'll let you know in like 10 years, and meanwhile they're using the information on healthcare, on like things that could impact people. And I was like, I can appreciate the cool parts of biotech. It works a lot faster because the goal is to make money, and when you you want to make money, you want to go faster than other people that also want to make money. So there's like that competition and drive, but without the actual checks, it can go real crazy. And here's an example, a really strong example of how it could go really wrong really fast. And yeah, and what have we changed? What have we changed since then? Like we've lost the journalism, right? The journalists solved it.
They have that saying is like move fast and break things. And that generally is what they say in tech, right? But like you can't do that in biotech. You're breaking a person. Like it's not it doesn't the logic doesn't apply. So I think investors don't get that.
Yeah,
It's
like
another-
computers breaking is one, but like
Yeah,
people breaking
is a whole other game. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
it is. I feel like so Ruby and I went to this like human augmentation biotech summit thing a couple weeks ago, and there were definitely some like interesting and questionable startups there.
I felt like I was watching all the newbie Elizabeth Holmes going on stage, like one after another. I was like, "Oh, that's not science.
It's like
That's
it
not
feels
real."
like as someone like it's kind of weird because like I have a lot of contacts with people in that world, and like oftentimes it feels very nihilistic. Like people are just like, okay, this person made a lot of money, so they're awesome, or just like they attracted a lot of investment. Like that's just like how people really judge the quality of things.
Yeah, the part of the presentations they would give would be like, "We attracted this much
Mhm.
VC money." Like that was like argument for like donating more to them, and I was just like, "How about the argument should be the data from the
Yeah.
science?"
No, but
Right. Like as scientists, like we have a kind of a different view of it, which is like, okay, it's like, have you like what stage of clinical trials has this gone through? Or like, have you published the results in a good journal? Have they been replicated? Like those are the
Yeah.
things that like
It was so
scientists,
wild. There was a
yeah.
company, a startup that their
Uh-huh.
goal was to bypass FDA. Like they were like,
Uh-huh.
"We will help you bypass the FDA." And we were sat there, we're like, "What?" Like your goal, like your specialty is like we have the lawyers and stuff so you can put out medical equipment that does not have to go through like federal health approval. And I was just like, "What?" And they're like, "Yes, it'll be fast and it'll cost you this much money and we're
And
really
you're
good
just
at
like,
it."
cool.
wow.
It
Uh,
was so weird because like they assumed that like because I was there and like I worked in the field that like I would be like super on board with this, and so they're like, "Oh, are you like having like oh you're working on this human research technology, like we can help you not have to deal with the FDA," and I'm just like, I mean, I'm fine with that actually, like, and then
like
she was
I
like
would
kind of disappointed and was like, "Oh, okay, fine."
yeah.
Dude, like I've been to a bunch of these events, and they are, they like they look at you like you're a piece of meat. Sometimes they're just like, please use our thing or buy our thing or like make me feel better, and it's just I don't like it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
the one
it's
thing
just
is like
such a weird
the
value
environment.
system. Yeah.
Environment builds it, right? So we have designed society, but our society has built this, and like this is the best, this is the best it can come up with. Like when market can come up with, like if we're
It's like the
going,
core of capitalism. If someone's gonna pay for it, it means that it's worth something, and it's like,
yeah,
how
and
about
then
no?
yeah, and like historically, healthcare has not worked well when
With capitalism,
with
yeah.
capitalism. It's like one of these things that are like, I can understand like the price of, wooden chairs. Like, sure, like, go with full regular market economics, like free market, do it. But like when it comes to healthcare, this is where it
What are
really
we doing? Yeah.
I know it goes real wrong. And here's examples of why it can go
And it
really
goes
wrong.
real wrong and it costs more money. Like when
It
it
does.
goes wrong, like the opioid epidemic, like
Mhm.
Yes.
that was a problem that lasted for years and it costs like
Lasted for years. It's still happening now.
it's still happening.
We are
Sorry.
in it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to hear some crazy stories about how much doctors used to make?
Because of this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so back in the day, I guess not even that long ago, like drug companies that sold opioids would be like, "We have the newest, coolest opioid," and they would take doctors out on vacations, full vacations, cruises, like vacation homes, the works, and then be like, "Hey, like, can you push these drugs basically on your patients?" And for that, we will take you on vacation, and everyone took it. It was so normalized that like entire departments would go and they'll be like, "All right, the department is like on like lower population right now because everyone's on the cruise that like blank pharmaceutical companies just taking all the doctors on blank."
It
That's
is
wild.
it is like And the thing is, they market it as a non-addictive painkiller, and so
Oh yeah.
they were passing and that was based on bad science too. Like they had these weird graphs that were not I watched the movie and they explained the science behind it. They were like, no, this graph is not it's not normalized, so it looks like it's doing something, but it's not. And they pushed this drug on everyone who had imagine you fell off your bike and you hurt your shoulder, then they give you this kind of painkiller, and then you'd ruin your life basically after that. And that was insane. And it hit, yeah, you guys have to. This movie was really good.
I was
I
gonna say
cried.
we can drop it in the chat if you put it in
Yeah,
the
I'm just
in
trying to remember. There's a TV show called Dope Sick that's also amazing.
yeah.
And I remember watching a movie and I was really yeah.
And I think pain is one of the, I mean, I work in pain and touch, and I think about this a lot, right? The ultimate holy grail for a scientist is to actually find something non-addictive and something probably not opioids that will also work, right? Because opioids also don't work in people with chronic pain, and there's a lot of instances where it doesn't work and can cause these horrible side effects. So that is a really cool goal to go for. But I was thinking about the historical context. Humans are really good at, once we figure out one avenue, we can refine and make that one thing better, right? So we started with opium from poppy seeds, and then there was a whole opium war. There was a whole thing where we subjugated a whole population of humans, and that's a whole story. And then we're like, okay, we need to make opium less addictive. Let's go with heroin, which is even more addictive. They're like, we're going to give this to all the American soldiers. And then they're like, we're going to get better. At every iteration, we made a stronger opioid, right? It's the same thing. It's just better and stronger. Better as in it worked more efficiently. It was more addictive, and it did more of the thing it was doing before, but it's technically still the same thing. It's not a different method of action. It's just more of it or stronger of it. And we've gotten better at we're at the point where fentanyl, you can get an accidental overdose of fentanyl touching someone with your bare hands and skin. Now there are people who are working in first aid that won't touch patients because they're I think this person is laced full of
It's
fentanyl and
contaminated with
OD'd.
fentanyl.
Yeah, and they're well, skin contact is enough to knock them out too. And there's a lot of times where patients come in and the first thing they get is naloxone. They're we're just gonna naloxone. You're not responsive. We're just gonna give you this preemptively. Yeah, because it's
So
the
sad.
most likely thing that you have. That's really wild. This is how it happened, right? This is where the companies are make something more addictive so we can sell more of it and make more money.
But then
Yeah.
the
I mean,
company
and
makes more money, and that family makes more money. But the entire infrastructure around, the country has to deal with the
cost.
Yeah,
it's
cost.
Spread out. It's spread
out
to everybody.
I thought it was also interesting. So the Sackler family owns that company, and they made their money off of this, right? All of it, and they've donated, NYU has a whole Sackler wing, or had, and they've removed their names off of everything. They're just it's been so bad that they're
because of public pressure, or
I mean, yeah, public pressure, bad press. They're we can't be seen taking drug dealer money, which is exactly
also it's kind of
drug dealer money.
Who wants to go to the Sackler biomedical research facility for a clinical trial?
Distrust in science, or just breeding more of it.
Yeah, and that's sorry, I'm gonna totally pivot and talk about vaccinations and the COVID vaccine and how distrust this happened to as a side effect, right? So
yeah. Oh, Spraj says stuff on the skin.
I don't understand.
I think that was referring to this thing about
the fentanyl.
The comment about the puncturing.
Oh, yeah.
That was from a while ago. So that was, I think, for related to the Theranos.
Oh, got it. Got it. Oh, they want it wearables, right?
Is it okay? I have a question.
I'm not sure. What was the? Yeah, I wasn't sure what the question was, but
I have a question. I'm thinking, so like this happens in science and biotech, but it's because we're deep in it and we know about it. Do you think it happens in other like industries and we're just not aware?
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I found some examples in other industries too, so as to not give the impression that
It only
that
happens in biotech.
yeah, that it's like the biotech people are uniquely sketchy, which they're not. I think it gets talked a lot about in biotech because it directly affects people's lives a lot. Like it's very similar to I think why like the replication crisis was first discovered in like psychology and medicine, which is like not because those fields are worse at replication, but like because in those fields if you get things wrong, like it kills people. But it turns out like so it actually there's a lot of kind of perpetual like scams in physics. One of the biggest ones is people trying to like sell basically different varieties of perpetual motion machines that pops up from time to time. People will claim to have like made a device that can run continuously and produce energy without using any sort of fuel or other energy input. Like at this point, most of the time, most serious physicists are just like, I mean, okay, it's a scam because that's impossible. Um, but another thing that comes up occasionally all the time is the idea of cold fusion. So the idea that kind of you produce fusion nuclear reactions without using extremely heavy or extremely hot plasma. And so this kind of people started claiming you could do this, I think in like 1989. And it seems like that experiment actually was like a legitimate attempt at doing it and they just messed up their experiment. But since then, like various scammers occasionally claim to have produced a way of doing this. And the interesting thing about this is because like it's kind of plausible, like there's ways, and also oftentimes the experiments they do are producing like very small amounts of power, so there's lots of ways to kind of make a convincing scam where it kind of looks like it's producing a lot of energy from nothing or from cold fusion, and it's only when you really try to replicate it with third parties and really control it well, you can say like, okay, that's not what's going on.
Or have they sold it to energy companies
Yes.
and like lost lots of
Yeah.
money?
So let me find the one that I was looking at.
So scammers be scamming in physics as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
scammers
There
be
was
scamming
definitely one where
everywhere.
they've been claiming they're going to start using it to generate energy for like a few decades.
Yeah. How do we check it, right? So like Theranos was unveiled because of Wall Street Journal, right? Was
Mm-hmm.
it Wall Street Journal or it was a journalist. It was
Yeah, it was
like
a
it
journalist.
was like a proper journalist. We should probably find their name to like
Yeah, it was John Carrio.
okay. From
Yeah.
was it from Wall Street Journal? Was it?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, very good. I like
I
kind of
think he
remembered
was
it.
the same one who wrote the Bad Blood book, right?
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
him who wrote the Bad Blood book.
Yeah, so investigative journalism solved
Uh-huh.
that, right? Like it could have gone on longer if it wasn't for
Yeah.
whistleblowers um and like investigative journalism. Not sure if we have as much investigative journalism that's happening now in 2025 compared
Yeah.
to 2015 era.
Yeah.
Like we've lost a lot of newspapers. I mean, we lost proper journalists.
I mean, there's a cut to the NPR, so
Yeah.
there are cuts happening because they know that the journalists keep them accountable. But
And I do
I mean,
think
I
like
always say like,
there's this weird thing where it's like, okay, you can have something where it's like the evidence that it works is not that great. And that doesn't make it a scam. Like then it could just be like an early stage thing too. And I think that's one of the things that makes this so hard is I was like a little bit after the Theranos thing, I was reading about this device called the Healby Goby, where it's a wearable, and supposedly what it can do is it can tell how many calories you're taking in by looking at changes in your bioelectric impedance. And there are actually some investigative journalists who were saying like this has to be a scam. It is like made by this weird company in Russia. It just doesn't make any sense that it could do this. And they actually stayed in business. They did some independent validation tests, and it seems like with some margin of error, it actually really does do the thing that they claim. And just like it took them a while to be able to show it, and also people were skeptical because like it
The fallout of
seemed
Theranos.
difficult. Yeah, like not even necessarily they were like it's like Theranos. People are just like if you can measure this, like why aren't you using it for like to help diabetics track their blood sugar? But like it turns out the actual answer to that is like that the cost to run that kind of clinical trial is a lot more expensive than to the cost to like do the basic validation to show like this thing can help people lose weight. And so I think that's the tricky thing is like there are cases where the thing is not a scam, but either it's very early
Do we lose
stage
it?
or not very good at getting scientific documentation for it.
I could see that. I could see this being like, here's an example of why we
I
like
mean, some problems are more complicated than others, right? So I
Yeah.
think a lot of companies will be like, this is an easy, safe way to measure something that might be important for this other thing.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with that actually. But
Yeah.
that
I would
when
go ahead.
I was gonna say like the margin of error is the thing I have an issue with. Like how much margin of error is acceptable and like how confident are we in this data? That's the problem, right? And
Yeah.
I think no one's looking at it like that. They're not scientists and they're not statisticians and they don't understand like how this actually works, like how much data you need. So that's my issue
That's true.
mostly.
And I think actually, like, I mean, I work actually in kind of a similar field, and I think another problem is when you start developing these things, you actually don't necessarily know what margin of error you need. Like you, like, oftentimes you can kind of quantify, like, okay, it's accurate within this point, but it's like, when people use it, is that accurate enough for them to like lose weight, for example? And you don't really know that until you've actually like given it to people and like seen how they use it. Um, this is a thing that we run into with some of our sleep technologies. People will be like, oh, we want the model to be at least this accurate. And like, we're just like, how do you come up with that number? It's often not at all clear what kind of accuracy you need for it to
Yeah.
work.
No, that's
Yeah.
fair. I think isn't that why we have like clinical trials and things like that?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
like is that process too slow?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so the first phase of clinical trials is just safety, but the other two is actually efficacy, right? So like if it doesn't do anything and has too many side effects, you end the trial. If it actually does the thing, but the side effects are deemed unacceptable, it also it also ends there, right? But the first phase is just safety. Like it doesn't even tell you if it works or not. Like as long as like no one's keeling over and like
Yeah.
and having long-term effects, they kind of let
I
it
do
go, right?
I do think one problem is like a lot of these companies will like really do anything they can to avoid running a clinical trial.
Because
Like,
it's expensive.
yeah. And I mean, because you're kind of obligated to report the results. Like, I think
That's
you
true.
you kind of have to pre-register things with the FDA, and like if your experiment sucks, like the FDA will actually say like, oh, that's not good enough. Like, try again.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
fair
So
enough.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right?
For those of you that don't know, like pre-registering means like I'm going to record from 10 humans and I'm going to record for this long. I'm going to collect this data from those people. And then you like basically submit that and then you go and do the experiment and then you have to show the data from all 10 of those experiments. And if you exclude them, you'll be like, hey, like this person decided to leave because blank. Like you have to actually do the whole Like you can't just be like, we dropped, 4 of the subjects because they didn't show the data. They like their data did not support the claim. Like you pre-registered the actual patient data, like all of it, and then you go do the experiment. That's why it takes time, because you got to like register people, you got to find people willing to do it, and also like half of them are getting placebos, like, and they have to have like the disease or whatever in like whatever you need. Like if it's sleepy, you need like you need to find 100 people with insomnia. Like they all have to have confirmed insomnia for like this long. They have to be willing to like do your stupid device thing for like this long, like every night for the whole thing. Like it's hard. It's really hard to do. That's why it takes so long to get drugs onto market.
Yeah. Also, you actually have to pay the FDA when you submit your application too. Like, I think currently they cost, I was just looking it up, about $4.3 million to do an investigational new drug application.
That's chump change for some of these companies, honestly.
I know, but
Yeah.
they're like,
but
what's the way to save money? Not do that at all.
also, it's not.
Maybe
but
stop
it's not
paying your
chump change
CEO
for small
100K
startups.
plus,
So I think like the
Yeah.
startups are the ones that will really do anything to avoid having it classified as like do anything to avoid having to go through the FDA clinical trial process.
That's true. I think the FDA actually gave Theranos a like class B2 or class B, which requires an FDA, and they like just insisted that they got a class A or class 1. And they're like, nope, we got a class 1, we don't need it. And I was like, you're pricking someone's finger, you don't need what? Like you actually stabbed someone and you're collecting like what?
They're just like,
I
it's
mean-
a finger prick. It's not like invasive, right? But like the things you're claiming to get out of this finger is invasive to other people's lives. Like you can't be telling people they have cancer and they don't have cancer, or they have HIV and they don't have HIV. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that was the problem. Like in theory, like a fingerprint can be a class 1 test. Like for example, like for some things it is. But like that's the problem is like, okay, does it inform like whether you go on HIV treatment or not? That's what makes it so risky.
What was that company that used to like sequence you? Like you could just give them a swab and it would give you like
32andMe or 23andMe.
23andMe. And I remember when that was coming on and I was like, this is such a wild west. Like they can just give you a diagnosis and not tell you how to read it. Like because you could check, like originally you would get all your data and you could literally look at and be like, oh shoot, I'm positive for blank. Let's say the blank was like BRCA genes for breast cancer. Like no doctor, no like gene therapist, no like genetic counselor, like none of that. You can just be like, for fun, I'm gonna try not Theranos, 23andMe, 21andMe, whatever.
They
And
actually
then
still do that. They're very conservative about like what health information they provide, and now actually I think the FDA actually cracked down on them and they took out the health information out for a while and then they put it back once they got what's called a CLIA certification. But they still provide your raw information in their site, so you can download the raw information and run it through a site that's not regulated.
Yep.
I did that and it actually told me I was going to die at like 40 from Parkinson's because their database was wrong.
What? I'm so sorry that happened.
No, but like you know how to find out if the data is
yeah, exactly.
wrong, right?
Like
A
I was just like,
person,
okay, maybe this is not good, actually.
Yeah, a regular person would not know what to do with it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they would be in like, they would just have a real bad day.
Yeah.
Instead of like, this is a fun thing I did, I spit in the tube. And then suddenly they're getting like diagnoses left and right. That's horrible.
Before 23andMe were doing this, they were like insurance companies were offering free DNA tests as like a way to like diagnose you. And then they would take that free DNA test and actually increase your insurance. Because they'll be like, oh, your DNA says like you're going to have heart disease or you're going to have this and that. And that is actually, that was a problem. Like that should be legal. And I think it's illegal.
It's illegal now. It's currently technically illegal, but they have gotten around it because this is what happens. You learn about, let's say you have heart disease or diabetes or whatever. So you yourself is going to go into your regular doctor and be like, hey, you should check my A1C or check my, and you're going to do that more often than someone that didn't know that information. So they are allowed to check what services you're using regularly now, right? And so then they're like, oh, hey, this person's been checking their A1C like periodically every 6 months for the past like 6 years. Like maybe they're worried about having diabetes. Maybe we should, you know what I mean? And then like imagine if you got AI to scrape that kind of information, right? This behavior. So like let's say in the past 10 years, people that did that activity after they've, and they're in the socioeconomic class, they're like highly educated, they like care about health. They look like they have a gym membership, they do all these things. And then they're like, oh, hey, this person probably, high risk of diabetes. We're going to increase their premiums. Who's going to say? They're like, oh, we use an AI algorithm to determine your premium price. Like literally put a price on your life, like how much you are worth. Is it worth it for you for them to like try and market to your body, your health, right? Like, are you
Your
worth
health,
this
yeah.
much money? Yeah, like these are things that could happen and is probably already in the works of happening. What are the checks for that? Like, what can we do about it?
That's
Like,
why,
Yeah,
like,
I was
I
gonna ask
hate.
also, like, with these scams, so we've talked a lot about the problems. I guess the question is like, short of like getting rid of capitalism, like how can we like
Short of getting rid of just casual.
I mean, like, because I mean, okay, I feel like that is kind of like the logical, like all the things we've talked about are like, okay, these are problems with capitalism, but like, also it's hard to get rid of. So like, short of getting rid of capitalism, like, what could we do to address these things?
Have this so we can tell people about it. And
yeah.
like, I'm
Mhm.
one who hates giving my health information to any app. Like, I'm just like, you don't need to be tracking me. I don't know what you're gonna do with this. And I've been like this with all my with everything I do. Like, when Facebook started and everyone was like, so what? They can have my information. And then look what happened. So that's one thing. But regulation is probably another. But how much regulation can you get when everyone in Congress is old? Like,
Yeah,
so
they work on a different timeline than
like,
how fast these technology is like changing, right? They're like they work on like months and years timelines, and like the shit's happening in like days.
I mean, I'm down to bring down capitalism too. Like, so.
Like, yeah. Oh, what are you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say we gotta bring back journalism. Like I think we need good people funded to do it, and we need to like regain the trust of like media needs to regain the trust of
The Guardian is a good resource. Like,
the
I mean,
humans.
the Guardian is one of the ones I go to because I trust the Guardian. So
Yeah,
anyway,
like
but yeah,
Like,
that's
have
true.
more investigative journalism.
basically, yeah,
Look
like we
into
need,
these things. Yeah.
yeah, and we need scientists doing it too, right? Like
Yeah.
I would trust a person who had a science background or at least did an undergrad degree in science of any field doing investigative journalism on biotech and like
Yeah.
keeping an eye on the pulse of this and just keeping them in check. I think that's quite important, right? Like the threat of a check
Yeah.
is
I feel like that's how a lot of these small scale scams get found out is like there's basically people who like know how to look at like the pictures of protein blots and stuff and they're like, wait, that's not right. They just photoshopped that one. And
yeah.
then
And like on the academic side, like as an academic, that's all we can do, right? Like
Mhm.
we have to say yes whenever we are asked by an editor to, hey, review this paper. It's going to take your time, but it's worth it to sit there and like read through someone else's paper, go through the figures, and then like give your
I
honest
mean, but they
comments.
don't pay you for that,
They
right?
don't
Like,
pay us for it. Maybe perhaps that's something that should change, right? Maybe they should pay people to
there
do
was a
that.
scandal recently, right, with one of the journals where someone was giving like fake reviewers and putting in an email that he was reviewing his own papers or something.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
And
saw that.
like, academia is also
I mean,
problematic
yeah,
in its
it is
own
also
way. Yeah,
problematic.
but we're not ruining people's lives and telling them that, we're not taking.
There's a lot of things wrong with the peer review system, but there's also parts of it they're still working.
That makes sense.
Like
yeah.
there's still a check. We can still catch them. There are still people like going through figures really carefully, looking at things. Like with
Looking at the data,
yeah, looking at the data, like looking at the logic and making sure all things are up and up. I think it's gonna be harder now that we have so much AI, like so easily at everyone's fingertips. We're gonna get a lot of fake data. We're gonna get fake
synthetic data.
I don't know.
synthetic
I mean, on
data.
the other hand, you've got like that like rat dick paper. Like that's the effect of using the AI.
The best thing AI has come up with lately was that paper. That was amazing. I can't believe it got published. Did it get published, or was it just a joke?
No, I think no. It was a proper. It was just an abstract photo. they're like, we can't be bothered to pay a media arts person to do this. Like, this will get views, and it became viral.
I mean, how could it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we post that, or is that too
Yeah,
much?
I'll put it in the chat with it is an SFW.
I can't put anything in the chat. Is it because I'm a guest?
Yeah, Nathan is the host person today.
And
I
yeah.
love that you said not safe for work.
No, just like I don't want anyone to like be watching this on YouTube and then like go open that thing and then like their supervisor walks by and like
Like their supervisor will get a kick out of it.
I mean, after first being like, why are you looking at pictures of rats? It's an enormous penis.
I just like
But
opened it again and I was like, oh my god, this is like worse than
I
I
opened
remember.
it and started laughing on
I know someone in my old lab sent that to me. For those of you who didn't know, I did write a paper about sex. It's my PhD.
They're just like, is this what you do?
I know. Wait, okay. So before we leave, I
Yeah.
wanted to. I was looking through the energy catalyzer, which is this like cold fusion thing. What happened to it? Like, did like this outlandish thing? Like, did people finally like crush his company? Like, what happened? Like, was there a fallout? Was there like what was the tea?
Yeah, so I read about this a couple years ago. Let me look up this Andrea Rossi guy. Okay, so interesting. So he started in the 1970s. He claimed he had a process to convert organic waste into petroleum in Italy, and he founded a company. It got shut down in Italy in 1989, and he got arrested for fraud. But then he got released in 1996 and moved to the U.S. And then he started working on cold fusion, which he tried to patent in 2008. Let me see. So this is yeah, so interestingly, he actually did some demonstrations for people where he kind of claimed to demonstrate that this thing could generate energy, but it was always like under conditions that he carefully set up, and so when other scientists tried to replicate it under their old conditions, they were like not allowed to do it.
Not allowed or couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I'm just reading the Wikipedia page for this. Let me pull it up actually. Energy catalyzer. This thing has quite a history. So like I was reading about this in like 2010. Okay, so he
This kind of reminds me of that Italian guy that said he could transplant a head. That was insane.
Right, yeah. And like he kind of just always keeps claiming he can do it and like he's demonstrated it, but like he wouldn't like really like publish the protocol or let anyone else try to replicate it.
Oh.
So it looks like it really started off at this university where in Bologna, where he started doing some demos of it, claiming that it could produce energy, but it was only under really controlled conditions. There is a non-peer-reviewed paper claiming that it produced excess heat with an energy density that was at least one more, but it was, and this was the Swedish Energy Research Consortium. So I think the really interesting thing about some of these results is basically like when third-party researchers got access to it, like they were able to see like, oh, okay, it looks like it's producing a lot more energy than like you might expect, but like the stuff like, okay, what chemicals are you putting into it? Like they were not allowed to know. So like everyone was trying to come up, like kind of conclude like, okay, is it generating this power from fusion? It was kind of all based on this argument that it was like, it was producing so much energy that it had to be fusion, which is a weird argument.
They
let's
refused
see,
to
what-
unplug the machine.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is interesting. So the authors seem to jump to conclusions.
While it was operating despite being an easy way to surreptitiously power the device. Serendipitously. She also added, suppose independent does have to rely on data supplied by Rossi. Yeah, that's sus. That would not
Yeah.
pass peer review.
Uh-huh.
Happy Friday to you too.
Yeah. I was gonna
So what
say
was
in physics, isn't it pretty typical to just go into physics archives?
yeah, it
Like
is. Yeah.
it is, right? And then like
Uh-huh.
you still try to get it published so you can get a job and stuff, but like people already read it like 5 years ago when it first
Yeah.
dropped, and like they take really good care to make their original preprints quite close to like
There was
final.
a cool physics paper that was like discussing whether Batman could be real. I mean, this is off topic, but like they like did all the calculations. Like if someone was this rich and had this like much money and resources, could they be Batman? And
Could
they're
they
like,
really be Batman?
yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Off topic.
Yeah, but like they did.
But yeah, I think this is really the closest to a resolution I could find. So, and this is the thing I was thinking about. In 2014, a newly formed company, Industrial Heat, announced it had acquired rights to the technology, and then the guy sued the company. But then they said like after 3 years of effort, they were unable to get this thing to actually produce power. And that seems to be kind of the end of this. Like at that point, I think kind of everyone was like, okay, we're really convinced this is not a thing.
Yeah, the parties settled. The terms of
The
the
end.
settlements were
Yeah.
not released. Yeah, like it didn't blow up. No one is in jail. No one
Yeah.
was like
Yeah,
he did so
I mean,
much
he
fraud.
did go to jail once for the like fuel from.
Honestly, I think people should
Garbage.
be fined for not fact checking anything. You know, like
Yeah.
if you're in a position where you're publishing something and you're not fact checking it properly, or you're like a public figure and you're like basically spewing lies, like fine them. Just
Yeah,
fine them.
but
Yeah.
like they only really got in trouble once they the scammers tried to scam like rich people, and then the rich people got angry, and then they're like, now you're going to jail or gonna like
And then sued
actually
them. Yeah.
yeah, like we're gonna
Yeah.
sue the
I mean,
bejesus
that's
out of
what
you.
happened with Theranos, I think, because
Yeah,
her board was like a bunch of heavy hitters, like, and she had like a famous politician on there too. Like I don't remember, but like she was messing with the wrong people. Honestly, like
Yeah.
you can't piss
And
these
I think
people
like
off.
the Walgreens thing was a big part of Theranos' downfall, and that kind of Walgreens was betting on them to open these clinics or open these testing centers in their stores, and then they're like, okay, we should do some due diligence, and they were like, actually, we're not convinced.
Guys, she had Henry Kissinger on her board. Like that is a red flag. Henry, what? Oh my god.
Also, why? Like, I mean, I guess just like for political influence, but it's just like, who should we have on the board of this biomedical testing startup? How about Henry Kissinger?
Unbelievable.
is this man still
Noted
alive?
biologist and
Guy
Okay.
entrepreneur.
like last year or something.
Okay, I was like, this man is old, right?
He's a terribly
Yeah.
old dead man.
I haven't thought about that man in a long time, like Vietnam War, long time. Like that's when I learned about him.
You're just like, wait, he's still alive. He never dies, actually. Yeah.
It's just
Unfortunately, the politicians that we don't want to be alive are still alive.
I think the rich people thing is really interesting. I think this kind of gets into like what do we do about it too. Like I feel like I feel like the venture capital people either need to like create new mechanisms for funding things or just kind of like adjust their culture. Like earlier we were talking about how it's like
No,
these venture
it is happening, but very
yeah,
slowly, by the way. Like
yeah.
there's
Oh
loads
really?
of, yeah, so there's like loads of cool venture capitals that are like super scientific and know that good science takes time and they're not rushing. And like one of them is at MIT. It's called The Engine. It's great. So yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
it's
Also
happening, but
E14
slowly.
fund, I think at MIT does that
They're more
too.
like AI and tech, so they're
Yeah.
not like super biology based.
Mhm.
But yeah, so the engine is great. Like there's a company called Curie Bio that is like not only funds you but also gives you the scientists to work with you. So that's cool.
That's
So it
cool.
is changing, moving
Yeah.
slowly. Like people are recognizing that this is actually a problem and we need experts in the field to drive that. So they're
Yeah.
learning from the mistakes.
I
And
mean,
I'm
I
like,
think ultimately
this didn't have
they,
to be a mistake that we made, you
yeah,
know? Go
like
on,
they're
sorry.
the ones who lose lots of money. And I think it's kind of interesting, like when you have like venture capital firms who have this like move fast and break things and like generate profit quickly. And I think like they kind of need to realize that like these sort of academic norms like exist
For a
for a
reason,
reason.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't use them, like you're gonna lose your money.
I was gonna
I
say they
think
have to pay a price of a lot of money, and meanwhile, a bunch of people get sick and ill
yeah. Like
before
but I
it
think
fixes itself. Yeah.
yeah, I think a huge chunk of this is like what is the kind of culture around it? It's like this happens when things move out of this kind of really careful sort of academic and big pharma culture. It's very and big company culture in general is very careful about these things. And when you kind of get more into this venture capital model, I think just like a lot of this is because they haven't quite figured out how to have a good culture around it yet. And honestly, I would prefer if everything was just kind of funded like by the NIH or by the FDA. It turns out like we could totally actually nationalize a lot of biomedical drug development. Like it would be fine. We actually like pretty much have the resources to do it. But failing that, I think that like these venture capital companies need to like adopt more of that culture.
I agree. But
That's a really good place to stop, actually.
Yeah.
In a positive note on,
Yeah,
hey, we're actually moving in a better direction. And it actually
true.
took
Yeah.
them to lose a lot of money
Yeah.
for them to be like, hey, actually,
Like the
maybe
rich
we,
people will eventually get tired of losing money and that will solve this problem.
yeah, with more time.
so
Yeah.
capitalism is the solution and the answer.
No, I know. Unfortunately, these people are, getting sick and dying. And meanwhile, let's try and like,
Yeah.
not do that and not add to the problem. But hopefully they'll check their work before they throw millions to randos and future homes is. With that, thank you for joining us. We're Philosophy Sciencing. See you guys next week.
Yep. Have a good night.
Good night.